I am in the process of making a rather long video, and one of the points I wanted to make was against the accusation that MGTOW just want to be victims. Well, I typed up a long and complete statement and then realized, there is a way of shortening my answer, my response to this accusation, and so I went with that. However, it removes so much detail that I think really paints a bigger picture of this phenomenon, so I am going to make this its own video. MGTOW just want to be victims. Oh, I'm sure we've all heard this one before, you just want to be victims. You just create a victim narrative. That's just like a feminist, and now that's just like a social justice warrior, who isn't trying to be a victim. And what I mean by that is, who fighting for their human rights can't be called accused of wanting to be a victim. Anyone fighting for political change is painting themselves as a victim. Why fight against feminism? Who are they hurting? Feminism isn't hurting anyone. If feminists aren't hurting anyone, why fight them? Who are they hurting? If you say they're hurting men, congratulations, you just want to be a victim. And a common argument here is, if people are willfully marrying and taking the plunge, who are you to decide for them that they are victims? This is a tough one to answer in any concise way without going off on a seriously long tangent. Summarized, the argument is, you are conflating wanting with willing. People pay taxes because they're willing, not because they really enjoy paying taxes. They're given a choice: don't work and thus don't pay taxes, or work and not pay taxes and go to jail for tax evasion, or work and pay taxes. He chooses the third not because it's what he wants to do, but because he is willing to do so. It's the lesser of the three evils. A man pays a prostitute, or a sex cam girl, for sexual favors. He doesn't want to cough up money for this service, but he is willing to. If the sex cam girl and the hooker and the phone sex girl gave him a choice of pay $5.99 a minute, or we can do this for free, if that choice were there, he'd want to go with the free option. But because the woman is in charge, she sets the price, and doesn't give him the free option, and he's so weak and needy that he gives in and is willing to pay the money for her service. Apply that to your sit-around-there housewife, costing you money. You'd rather be able to save that money. But she's in charge and not really putting it out there as an option, so you are willing to pay for her services as wife. Men are willing to pay for women. Women are not willing to do the same, because women are right when they say you need us women more than we need you men. Also, this Tradcan argument becomes a bit of a dirty tactic. Allow me to explain. Tradcan says, if people are willfully marrying and taking the plunge, then they are not victims. How dare you denounce marriage? I'll counter that by saying, Junkie says, if people are willing to shoot heroin of their own free will, then they are not victims. How dare you preach heroin is bad for your health? This is also recently coming about when people want to say MGTOW can get married. A man can be perfectly free and going his own way and married. The response is, you're not going your own way, you're going your wife's way, or something to that effect, to which he will respond, no, I'm not, I do what I want, and we mention that he does as much as she allows him. Ultimately, the power of divorce is in her hands. She has the power. We mention that marriage is exploitative of men, and they will say, how dare you decide for me what is exploitative? And that's the convoluted mess that ends up with this shit about you're trying to determine for me that I am a victim. Thus you are just painting an unnecessary victim narrative, just like a feminist social justice warrior blah blah blah, leftist this leftist that. The problem with this argument is it takes the abstract political, and unnecessarily turns it into a personal issue that you are not allowed to disagree with unless you attack him directly. Quite frankly, this is a dirty tactic. This is a matter of me saying heroin is an addictive drug, and you saying, I shoot heroin. Are you trying to call me an addict? You don't know me. How dare you pass judgment on me? I declare that I am not an addict, thus heroin is not addictive, and efforts to claim heroin is addictive, is an example of you trying to tell me that you know me better than I know myself. You don't get to decide for me whether or not I am an addict. That's painting a victim narrative. So retract your statement that heroin is an addictive drug that ruins lives, or stand guilty of being a social justice warrior. Another way of explaining what a dirty tactic this is to remind you of the male feminist position. A men's rights activist says women are privileged over men. The male feminist says, as a man, I know I am not underprivileged. Thus men's rights activists are full of shit. Imagine if the male feminists were to take the argument one step further and say, and if you try to tell me, a man, that I don't know what I am talking about, and that I am a victim of feminism, then here you are trying to decide for me, a man, that I am a victim. Now because I, a man, proclaim I am not a victim, you cannot claim men are, and if men are not victims of feminism or inequality, then MRAs are full of shit misogynists. You're doing that right there. Stop it. That's a dirty way to argue, and you know it, unless you're just really fucking stupid, in which case stop it. because your stupidity is showing. When tradcans say you can't say marriage is exploitive of men, because I'm married and I don't feel exploited, this is the same as the male feminist saying you can't say men are marginalized, because I am a man and I don't feel marginalized. Disagree with that male feminist, and men's rights activists just want to be victims.